Give it a second or two. Welcome everyone to Sysco Canada's live at our virtual kitchen. I'm pretty excited today to see what Maple Leaf has got in their kitchen that they're going to share with us today. So I'm going to pull the screen down. We're going to see them, and you'll be able to wave at everyone and be able to see these amazing ideas that we have today from Maple Leaf. And I think they're even going to show some chicken wings, which just kind of is awesome. But definitely, it's great ideas they're going to share with us and be able to help you out with your menu and different ideas that we have there. So I'm going to bring up everyone here and pull down this cool screen, and we can say hi to everyone. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hey, Jay.
Hello. So I'm going to go over to Kate. Kate, can you share and introduce, and you're going to do a little presentation here?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I call it a presentation, but I'll share my screen if I can get this working here. There we go. Is it sharing?
Nope. Oh, nope. Not yet.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah. Nope.
Okay. It's up.
Okay.
All right. So Kate Longmire, I'm the vice president. I was on here 2 weeks ago, but I'm the vice president of marketing and innovation for our food service division here at Maple Leaf, and excited to be back for week 2 of our Maple Leaf edition of Sysco Kitchens. So I just wanted to ground everyone a little bit on why we're here today and what we're focusing on. So we're focusing on chicken. I know there's a lot of talk in the industry, of course, about how do you make it harder, what is the most versatile options that you can bring in to reduce labor, to reduce costs, and have a reduced menu size overall. So it's kind of harder. And so one of our the things that we do well is chicken. Chicken is growing significantly. So we thought we'd focus on chicken today because it fits all of those things I just mentioned. So I just wanted to ground everybody in the chicken market today. So it's a little bit of homework. And I knew chicken was growing significantly, but from 1980, per capita consumption in Canada was about 18.1 kilos per person. It's now, fast forward every decade, it's increased significantly, but as of 2020, it's 38.2. So to put that in perspective, back in the day, 1980, it was about 5.4 whole chickens per person, like whole birds, and now it's up to 14 per person in Canada. So significant growth, and it continues to grow, especially during COVID. And as we come out of COVID, we're seeing significant growth in all cuts of our chicken products today.
Kate, do you contribute that to more of healthy lifestyles?
Yes and no. There's healthy lifestyles for sure, but I also think some of the innovation that's come in the market, the trends in the market, such as like the bowls that James is going to talk about today. There's been a real explosion of things that really needs protein at the center of it. Just a lot of different applications, and chicken is the leading protein in Canada, one of the leading proteins in Canada. So, and we'll get into that actually shortly in terms of day parts and how it fits. But the other thing is growth of like smaller meals throughout the day, where chicken well in wraps, for example, those types of things. So smaller meals throughout the day.
Cool.
Yeah. And in terms of day part, so as I mentioned, you need every item on the menu to work harder and harder, and all your ingredients too as well. So taking a look at by day part by significant protein in Canada, chicken is, so the red bar, that's what I'll call your attention to, but the red bar is lunch, and 45% of Canadians are eating chicken as their dominant protein in lunch. So it significantly outperforms all of the other protein options. And that goes back to what I was mentioning. Lunch now isn't just the form of like a sit-down formal lunch. Lunch is on the go. Lunch is mini meals. I do think that's contributed to growth, in addition to exactly what you said, Jay, the healthy, that chicken is healthy overall. And then for dinner, it's a close second to beef and seafood. And this is for center of plate only, but it's still, 88% of Canadians eat chicken. dinner occasion. And what's interesting is you see a 3% blue bar at the very beginning, there at the very top, and that's breakfast. And we're starting to see chicken on breakfast menus all over. So chicken sandwiches for breakfast are becoming
Really
not abnormal to see on menus. Yeah. So I think we're going to see a lot more growth in chicken and chicken sandwiches, but across all the days. And then just to really set the stage for why we're here to talk about chicken today. So as I mentioned, it's a high growth category. It's one of the most versatile of all proteins. It picks up the flavor really well. So it's just one of those items that you can use. And James will take you through some options today. Highly efficient, as I mentioned, so it brings the cost down. It's a really hard-working item. We've done some looking at what holds well off premise. And a lot of the products that James has to show you do hold up very well off premise today. A lot of the breading coders hold up well, but chicken in general, when you look at other proteins, in the growth of off-premise, takeout, delivery, etc., it really does hold up. Doesn't arrive too soggy or lack of any kind of quality degradation in the delivery method. It's cost-effective, and it's a top protein in ethnic markets. So specifically halal, and we have Nabil Ishtiaq here today. And he's our marketing manager for community as well as halal overall. So he's an expert within our company and within the community as well as it pertains to halal and our efforts internally with that. So really pleased that he could join us today. I did read a stat that if the trend continues, by next year the halal market will outpace the Chinese market. So in terms of food consumption, so really something that we've been focusing on at Maple Leaf to address, obviously, this very important consumer needs, and that's why I'm going today. And then I did, taking a look at a lot of the data coming in post-COVID, and some of the numbers are still in the midst of COVID that we're getting because there's a data lag, of course, but we're seeing growth in pretty much every market segment in chicken. So chicken used in entrees, strips are up 10%, and then protein add-ons is up about $10 million over a year ago. And that's things like salads, wraps, etc. So we're really seeing it's a good bang for your buck in terms of ingredient on the menu. And James is going to take you through a lot of that with some support from Nabil. And that's all I had for now. I'm here to answer any questions.
awesome. So let's not be chicken, huh? And get to chef.
Okay.
There you go,
Okay, Jay. So we're gonna look at about 8 or 9 products today, but it's broken into 3 categories. We're gonna look at some wing options. We're gonna look at some chicken strip options and some raw chicken options. The 3 different ones. All 3 of the ones we're going to show you today, the 3 categories, I have a halal option included in it, so we can talk about the halal option. So actually, if you want to introduce Nabil there. Jay, do you have Nabil we can say hello to here?
Yes,
hey guys.
Oh, there we are. So Nabil has really built the Mina brand for us over the years, and food service is a big piece of that business. This is the one side of the business that most operators are unfamiliar with how to handle, and that's where Nabil can help us out a little bit there as far as what the Muslim population is really looking for in their products and where they're going to find where they want to go to find them. So I'm going to let Nabil talk a little bit about the Mina Halal side of it, and then I'll start off into some wings in a few minutes here.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Really excited to talk to you about the halal opportunity today. Over the last decade, halal's really come a long way, where it was really restricted to mom-pop restaurants or very specific halal restaurants or halal grocery stores, for that matter, when consumers were looking for halal meat. But as we see the rise of the consumer population that's consuming halal meat, and it's now at roughly 4% of the Canadian population. And as Kate mentioned, by next year, it'll outnumber the Chinese Canadian consumers, which is substantial. And by the end of this decade, the halal consumer will be 7% of the Canadian population.
Holy cow.
Right, that's a massive number of consumers in Canada to not be able to bring into your store, especially considering that this is a subset of the population that has larger families. They got more kids at home. They over-index on younger families as well as growing families, maturing families, that is, with a lot of disposable income. This is the perfect type of consumers you want to bring into your door. And not to mention that the halal consumer population is 10 years younger than your average Canadian population. And this is a consumer we really want to bring in.
Nabil, can I ask you a question on that? Can I ask you a
Go
question
for it.
I think it's amazing, and welcome to our show today. And so glad to have you on here, because that's an amazing point that you hit there, because that's going to hit the millennials and Gen Z that generally we're trying to cater towards within our industry. Right? They're the ones out there spending money and eating out more and more. So you're saying they're 10% younger, which is awesome. So
yeah, they're 10 years younger than the Gen
yeah.
Pop.
So they're more likely to order out, take out, and eat in restaurants more than any other generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I wrecked your streak of your presentation.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's a fair point to bring up,
We'll
because
blame
it is.
Kate. We'll blame it on Kate.
It's very important to know that, because typically the halal consumer is a second thought, and sometimes it has to do with the complexity it potentially introduces into a kitchen by bringing halal in, and we'll talk a little bit about how to simplify some of those things. But what I wanted to kind of start off with was to paint a big picture here, that the Canadian consumer, the halal consumer, is spending over $400 million on poultry annually today, and that's going to be nearly $1 billion by the end of this decade, right? Wow. And that's a massive spend. And chicken happens to be over-indexed for this consumer versus the rest of Canadian market, and one of the reasons for that is pork is not halal, and so that whatever was being consumed of pork for Gen Pop consumers goes away for the halal consumer, and it gets replaced by chicken and other meat, other proteins, but chicken remains the number one protein consumed for the halal consumer. So it's super important that we're talking about it today, and I think it'll be really relevant as we talk about solutions to bring consumers back into the door.
Absolutely, wicked. I'm so glad you're here for this, because I can't believe that numbers. That's awesome, great stuff. So, Chef, are we back to you now?
Yeah. So I'm just going to we're just going to continue to interrupt Nabil while he goes through his spiel.
Exactly.
Continue to show a few different products. We're going to start with 3 different wing options for you right now. And if you can go to the other screen there, we have the Maple Leaf Zinger wing, which is a breaded wing, one of our most popular products out there. That product is going to hold its heat really well. It's going to transfer really well, and you're going to get a very consistent product with it. It's a fully cooked product. It comes out tender and juicy every single time. The one right next to it, which is a little bit lighter in color, this is a halal chicken wing. This is a halal crispy with a K, we call it. It has a different type of a coater system on it. It has a rice flour coater system on it. Now, it is fully cooked, but we're going to, obviously, when it comes back out of the fryer or the oven, you're going to end up with a beautiful crispy product here, which we're going to finish off in a second. But this is a halal product today that we can be offering, that your operators can be offering up, that it's not going to change their setup in their kitchen at all. You're still going to be serving a wing. Why not serve a halal wing? Increase your population of people that can be coming into your restaurant. The third item that we have here is one of my favorites. This is the chicken dipper. This is a 1.5 ounce hand cut piece of chicken breast meat that has a very thin coating system on it and is beautifully tender, fully cooked product. It bakes, it fries, and it's your quote unquote boneless wing option. We have to say a chicken breast piece because it's not a wing. Sir,
Keppy, can you pull one apart? Because I can see
absolutely. Yeah, if we go back down into the picture here, you can actually see I've got one torn apart. But when you tear into this, it is whole muscle product. It is beautiful, tender product. Just like that.
I was teaching my daughter about chicken nuggets. That's what I do, Katie, is I teach my kids about chicken nuggets. But we were talking about that full muscle and that chicken breast in a chicken finger or chicken nugget and stuff like that. The importance of it, the texture and everything, and that's exactly what that is. That's awesome.
Well, and what that is that's the same thing that you could do in your operation yourself if you wanted to work from raw. So if you want to take the chicken breast, cut it up, coat it, fully cook and cook it up, this is the same product. I've just saved you those steps. This is going to hold its heat really well. This is whole muscle. So you put 3 of these on a plate, that's a chicken breast, right? Yeah. We're seeing this. This started off as directed towards bars and pub food. I can tell you right now, one of the biggest consumers of this product we have now is healthcare.
Really?
It's a phenomenal product. Yes, it's got a very clean deck to it, and it's a chicken breast. Hands down, it is a chicken breast. And it's a hand cut piece. So there's the pieces are random, but they're all about that same size, and the coating system stays on them. So when you take that product, and I'll actually, sorry, one quick second here.
We'll go to Kate. Kate, tell us about chicken nuggets.
You take that product.
Yeah, I wish I had them here to eat, but just with the dipper specifically, one of the things that I think is important to note is the consistency. It's about 30 to 35 grams each, and they're very consistent in terms of size, which also holds up well. It's consistent every time, but the coating also makes it great for delivery also. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you can see right there, like that's a chicken dipper tossed in a sriracha chili sauce. Now, any wing sauce you carry in your restaurant today can now go into be used as a boneless wing as well. So you've got the 3 different options. I've got a couple builds for you just so we can take a quick look at them here. Here's your halal crispy chicken, chicken wing right there, hot herb topping, a little bit of watermelon on the side to finish it off. I've got your takeout beside that with the breaded thin wing. So you toss that in your sauce, send that out, no problem at all. And then the boneless dipper can be a wing or it can become part of an entree. So that also turns into something for meal preppers too. Once you want to have a meal for a week, they can set this all up. It's a beautiful product. So that's just 3 options for the wings. Again, the breaded wing is going to be better for travel. The halal chicken, crispy chicken, it is designed to cook from the deep fry, but you can also bake this product. So that's a product that you could actually sell to an end user for them to finish at their own house if they want to. So because it's fully cooked, there's no problems there. But if you temper that product out and throw it in the oven, you're going to get the same type of response as you can in the restaurant. So it's just another way to show that another way you can sell that product out to the customer.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here, and you might be wondering, can I bring halal into my facility, and how difficult is it? And is it, bringing a wing in, is that the only thing you have one halal item on the menu? What I'll tell you is, there's a ton of restaurants. So I'll give Subway as an example. In the UK, we've actually switched over to halal entirely in over 100 of their stores. So there's a big market for it, and I say UK because they're typically 5 years ahead in terms of the trend, and the Canadian population is kind of following the halal population is following the same trend. So there's some learnings to be had from there. In the Canadian market, Popeyes is all their restaurants in Canada are halal. So there's definitely absolutely, they've been halal for a couple of decades now, actually, and that's a facility a lot of consumers frequent because of that fact. And so if you're thinking, if I just bring a wing in, that's one thing on the menu. The reality is that a lot of things on your menu are probably either vegetarian or halal suitable. If you just switch out the protein and put in a halal protein, for example, you have 4 or 5 flavors of wings. Just changing out the protein, and your wing sauces are all halal approved or could be halal approved. Now you've got 5 flavors of wings, and you may have dippers or sides, fries, etc. So you may actually have more on your menu that you could sell alongside the wings as an offering.
That is such a great thing to point out. I'm blown away. I never thought about this, but what a great opportunity to bring in more clientele into your restaurant, like Popeye's done, right? And I've seen what Popeyes is doing right now, and they're killing it. Awesome. So, Chef, over to you.
And again, back to Nabil's comment, he had brought in the imam that looks after the certification for us, and he can explain that more after. But the one thing I really took from that conversation when he came and talked to us was, he was saying, as a Muslim, we just want to eat the same foods as everybody else. We don't want to be segregated out. And for me, that just became, okay, there's all these people that aren't coming to the restaurant because they don't know what they can get. They can get halal products there. People out there, they don't know what they don't know as far as customers that they could be having right now that people are just driving right past.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're absolutely right, Chef. Is the amount of people that's driving past because you don't have that on your menu, and you're just showing us how easy it is. It's incredible. Never thought of it.
So I've got 3 more products we're going to take a look at right now. So under the fully cooked chicken strip lineup, we've got quite a few different options. I've got 3 of them here for us today. The first is your straight chicken fajita strip. So this is what's going to be used for a lot of operators that don't want to have raw chicken in their operation. It becomes your Caesar's chicken Caesar if you want to. It's 100% breast meat. It's got grill marks on it, and it's ready to eat cold. So you can actually make wraps and sandwiches from it, or you can actually heat that product up. But that's your chicken. That's a straight chicken strip. The product beside it is the thick carved product. So this, again, it still has the char marks on it, but it's a thicker cut. This looks like you actually cut this product in your restaurant. It's a more premium product, so if you want to step it up one more time, you would go to something like this as a thick carved chicken product. And the third one that we have here, this is a chicken shawarma. So this is a halal product. This is chicken thigh. So a lot of flavor in here. This product actually, we've got a seasoning component in it, very strong, all spice. You can really smell this product, the aroma from this product. We call it out as a shawarma. The other way to look at this is you could actually call this out as just a Greek chicken strip. So the 3 different products are there for us to use. What I've got today for us, I've taken the shawarma and just sauteed it up a little bit. Because there's thigh meat in there, there's a little bit of fat still involved. So you want that fat to melt in. Fat is flavor, but you end up with this phenomenal shawarma right here. So from this point right now, you can take this product and serve it cold or just serve it hot right onto the dish. And that's what we're going to do with it, is just put it into a power bowl right now. So
we can hear the sizzle.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I just made up a little Greco power bowl here. We've got some rice, some cucumbers and everything on there. Let's get a little bit of the shawarma on here, which you can call that as Greco at this point. So you can get all that on there, and then just finish this off with a little bit of tzatziki. And you're ready to go. A little bit of spinach, some crispy chickpeas, some peppers, cucumber, tomato, and a little bit of pita on the side under a bed of rice. Finished dish, ready to go. Then the other product that we had for hot was, again, it was the regular chicken strip. I've got some fajita seasoning in there, so we just heated that up, ready to go. So it's all finished. It's ready to serve up hot. It could just as easily be going cold, but here we are. We can do a fajita chicken power bowl as well.
I love how Chef, are you just using, is that a bowl? That's a bowl? That is beautiful.
I'm sorry, Jay, one more time.
That's a bowl there, or is it just like a plate bowl?
That's a bowl. No, it's a deeper bowl. From the presentation side. So you got a little bit of pico de gallo, some roasted corn, some cheddar, some spinach, some beans on there as well, a little bit of rice at the bottom. But you can easily do a power bowl like that.
Oh no, but it just looks beautiful. Like those colors, right? We look at the colors, and obviously the younger generations love colorful food like that. Just beautiful. Awesome stuff. Love the idea. Oops.
Is cold at this point, right? Except for the fajita that we put on hot. But that could have been cooled down and put out cold, so you could have that as a lunch. Somebody could be buying that for the dinner later on that evening. The third item that we were going to show you was the thick carved chicken. So we wanted to have a different sort of an application on that one for you. So we're just going to, through the magic of television, come down the end here.
So Kate.
So sorry.
Do you see power bowls continuing to have that, I guess, attraction right now to the generations?
Oh God, yeah, and that's part of what's driving. When we dug into what's driving the add-on proteins, that segment that I mentioned was growing 5%. A lot of that is things like bowls And it's a lot of those up and coming restaurants. And then of course, the mainstream restaurants that are catering to a more millennial and Gen Z target. So yeah, and I think we're gonna see a lot more. And I think it's just starting because it's not yet fully mainstream. It goes back to what we talked about in the last session. It's a lot of moms too who are in the family restaurants, the mainstream restaurants and chains. But then you actually bring in the moms there. Then it suits that need as well. So kind of millennials, Gen Z, and moms, I would say, more health conscious. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot more of that in the future.
That's awesome because I love Power Bowls, but I think they're brilliant, and I agree with you. I don't think we're done with them, and I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, and chicken's one of the main items to be able to put on, just due to the versatility. And all of our strips that James is showing right now, they're natural, right? So they're natural, and they're plain, so you can actually spice it up, and you can take on whatever flavor profile you want. And I did want to mention the first strip that James showed. That's our #1 selling strip by a long shot. It's one of the mainstays on restaurants, but we're starting to see the hand-carved chicken strips show up a lot more on things like Power Bowls because it's a bit more premium and a bit healthier overall. So yeah, we're starting to see that SKU pick up specifically.
Jay?
It looks awesome. It just looks phenomenal. I'm back to you, Chef.
Okay, so I'm just going to finish off the last one with the thick carved chicken. I wanted to do a different application for you here. So if you go to the other camera.
Yeah, we're on that one already. Looking at
so basically, what I've got there is a double chicken Caesar. So we've got the romaine and the Parmesan flakes. We've got the thick carved chicken, bacon, croutons, and then along with that, we had to have 2 proper Caesars. So we've got. If you want to sell it, you can have a little bit of vodka and you have your own Caesars. This restaurant, you need to promote that as well. And I've got a little bit of Tabasco there for Chef Ryan.
The mic, we couldn't quite hear you there, Chef. Can you go back?
Sorry. So it was basically just so we could get a double chicken Caesar out of that. So if you can do the Caesar go along with it, a little bit of vodka, a little bit of Tabasco in there as well, and you can have a Caesar with a Caesar. Is where we were going.
Love it. Great idea.
So
wrong with that.
And of course that's going out cold, and that can be made up in advance. It can be finished at home for everyone. That if you want to go back to, we could talk with Nabil a little bit, and then I have one more product to show afterwards.
Hey, Nabil, by the way, we have people from the UK watching you right now. So
we have a microphone.
There you are. There you are. So we had a comment here. Mark says hi from the UK.
Hey, Mark. We're looking to you for inspiration there.
Exactly. Mark, we need more ideas from you. Love it.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to say is halal is a growing and a huge opportunity already, and it's going to grow faster than the rest of market just because of the growth in the population is faster than the rest of market. But having said that, I would say it's not for everybody, and it's for key locations in key areas. So when we're talking about, GTA, for example, is where the largest population of Muslims resides, and each of the metropolitan areas. So you have your Greater Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary. That's where and Edmonton, for that matter, that's where the population is really dense. So although it's 4% of the total population of Canada, when you look at GTA, it's about 15%. So that's massive, right? So when you think about, 4% might not sound like a large opportunity, but when you start to look at individual areas and hotspots, your restaurant, and we've done some of this work with demographic data in the past, your restaurant might have 20% of Muslim populations around it, and then you start to think about, okay, this is actually a lot more important to my location than everybody else around me. Perhaps. So, that's one thing to think about is where you are located. What is the population there? And if you're not in one of the metropolitan areas, this may not be an opportunity for you. But certainly it is if you are in a metropolitan area.
Yeah, I think when you think about those areas, it's growing though, right? Like I look at Calgary, right? Huge Muslim population there in Calgary, and we don't see very many halal items on menus as an opportunity for growth. So, great advice to really consider those areas, right? Not always Toronto, you Toronto folks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 23%, 50% of the halal population is in Ontario, but 23% is made up of Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. So we're talking about significant. In Calgary, we're talking about north of 100,000 consumers, or more, yeah, north of that, and then Edmonton by itself again, another north of 100,000 consumers, and growing rapidly. So that's something to think about. And then when you focus in on areas like, I don't want to say the wrong one, I haven't been there in a year or so, it's east, I think, northeast, is where you have a really dense consumer population of halal consumers. And if you live in the area, you could probably see the number of halal stores that are in that area. So certainly something to think about if you're there, that you're missing out on an opportunity. And some of the items that Chef Keppy just showed, you may have 2 or 3 types of strips, a shawarma strip or a plain chicken strip, that make up so many different menu items for you, with just having 2 protein SKUs in there that could create different dishes.
Yeah, great ideas though. I'm just blown away today. I think it's just awesome. So, Chef, back to you. Oh, he's well on you there.
About the food handling. We do have a MENA website that does have a basic food handler explanation as to how to deal with the product. For the most part, the Muslim population that's coming in wants to know that it is a certified halal product and that you're treating it properly inside the restaurant. It's being separated from the other items. You're cleaning the grill before you put something down. Information is huge here, and Nabil can go a little bit more into it in just a minute here. But we've got one more product that I really wanted to show you, which was it's a 6-ounce raw IQF chicken breast, but this one happens to be a halal product. So what we're talking about here is a raw chicken breast, and what I see for an operator to be able to do is if as an operation, if you have your own seasoning blend or your own particular way of making something, that you could actually vac seal up the halal chicken breast in a package like this with your seasoning and sell this to your end user. So again, much like we talked about the last time that we had our video, when somebody's coming in for a meal, ask them if they want to have another meal for the next day or going forward. So you could actually have something like this just with your particular marinade on it, finished, ready to go. So what I did with this product,
vacuum seal that, Chef?
I did vacuum seal it, which again, very simple to do. It could be frozen from that point if you wanted to, but just wanted to be able to show something that you could another offering for the operation. And at the same time, here I'm on camera, and it's going to go slow.
He's using tongs, folks.
I live for tongs.
You've worked in a kitchen when the chef uses tongs instead of his fingers.
So the idea is, there's your grilled chicken salad. Very simple, but that's a halal product. So to be able to offer that product out as a halal certified chicken salad or grilled chicken salad. I mean, why not try and get those extra customers in the door? It's not costing you any more money to do it, and you're going to have more patrons. So it was just sort of the idea that you could actually take that product and do one more thing with it.
I love it, Chef. I love that idea of the sealed package and stuff like that. It looks cool too. It really does.
If we could go back to Nabil and maybe just talk a little bit about food handling.
Yeah, Nabil, I got to ask you a question here on this mute chef here. How important is to have that? Like, if I'm bringing in halal products in my restaurant, do I have to have it on the menu that it's been certified? Like, how do you advertise that you're doing these practices within halal products? And
that's a great question. It's a great question. Let me actually start with what Chef Keppy just showed, that's a fantastic idea, especially if you want to test out the response from the halal consumer in your vicinity, without introducing a complexity into your kitchen of having to prepare and cook it all the way through. Once you marinate, we can really segregate the product. The key things to know when you're talking about halal in a kitchen and the way you handle it, and I'll talk about certification and how to advertise and let consumers know in a second. It's really to try to put it into a nutshell. Treat it like an allergen. Now, it's not an allergen. Okay, it won't kill anybody if there's anything happens. Of course, you want to do your best in terms of segregation, separation, sanitization. So surfaces that you're using, any utensils that you're using should be sanitized, washed between halal and non-halal use. And some restaurants will go to the extent of having separate utensils altogether with different color handles, etc. And then when you're storing it, or both raw or after it's finished, there's segregation there to just ensure that there's no cross-contamination that happens. Now, it starts with raw material, and you're going to start with what are your proteins that are being put in, that those are halal. Then number one, check. You're going to bring in halal certified products. So all of the Mina products are HMA certified. They meet the highest standard of halal. So when you bring that in, you're halal. From that point on to when it gets to the consumer, in order to ensure that it stays halal, the ingredients that you're putting in, those have to be halal, and the separation and segregation to ensure that there's no cross-contamination with non-halal meats, etc. And I know some facilities will, what they'll do is prepare all of their halal marination, all of that kind of stuff in the morning, or on a different day, and then make sure that that's just all separated so that you don't interrupt your flow of work in the day, and then in the cooking process you could have a separate grill or part of your grill, or put in the oven. Now, you don't need a separate oven for halal. You could simply use a tray that is clean with a parchment paper and just put it into the oven, and that would be fine. You don't need a separate oven for that. But when it comes to fryers, of course, that would be cross-contamination as it would be for allergens. So you would take precautions there. In terms of certifications, now with certifications, if you want to advertise that your facility is certified halal, then you would need to acquire certification, and then you would have that posted in your restaurant. However, what you're able to do is you can serve a halal protein and let consumers know that you're using a Mina protein in your recipe, and know the ingredients that you're putting in. You may not need certification in that case, as long as you have a right process and SOP in place to ensure that what you're doing is correct. And Chef Keppy and myself, we've certainly consulted with other facilities in the past, and we're happy to guide you through some of those things on how to handle halal in your restaurant. In terms of letting consumers know, the halal consumer is really tight-knit in that you rely on word of mouth to find out what is and isn't halal. And when you hear through an ad, this place is halal or not, typically the first response is, I'm going to go to my trusted source of circle of people, and I'm going to say, hey, have you heard about this? What's the source? Where are they getting the chicken? Where's the meat coming from, etc. And that's usually how the circle starts, the consumer journey, which is different than your typical consumer journey. It doesn't really start with, I'm going to go validate with my circle of trusted source, and that's where it kind of starts. So what becomes really important for this consumer is, if you're going to put something in your restaurant and you want to let people know, is to partner with some trusted influencers, and there's a ton of them now across Canada. Every major city's got tons of influencers, is to work with them to get the word out and say, this day to this day or ongoing, there's going to be halal on our menu. And they can get the word out quite fast, and that spreads. And as I mentioned before, given that the population is younger, they're also more inclined to use social media than your average Canadian population. So social media and influencer marketing becomes really important and paramount for this consumer.
So Nabil, does so if I bring in halal products, I'm a restaurant in Edmonton here, and I'm going to start including halal products on here. Would you recommend then I start advertising it as well, or is that a best way, like through social and through all the different channels that I'm using, to indicate I'm introducing this now and I'm taking the practices, I'm certified. Is that the right way to do that, to get the word out, as well as, like you said, the word of mouth spreads? But would you suggest that if I'm an operator?
Yeah, I would actually, and other operators have already done that. We know Pizza has in some of the key stores that have halal ingredients on their menu, toppings for their pizzas. They have usually some sort of a signage in their door that says halal toppings available at this location. So that is something I would recommend. Other restaurants, of course, across Canada do the same. So you really need to understand the demographic in your area. And when you see that there is a need, that is certainly something I would do. And that's actually really important to building confidence as the consumers walk into the facility, that you've taken the time to make sure that they're welcome in the store. And it's not something that is an afterthought. If you're actively inviting those consumers in, at the end of the day, ultimately chicken is chicken. So if you have a halal claim on top of that, you're going to invite incremental consumers into your store, not necessarily scare off anybody else, because it doesn't take anything away from the chicken. So letting people know in your facility that you're using halal, and knowing what the source is, because consumers will ask when they come in. So in this case, if it's Mina products, you can let consumers know. And what that really does is it leverages all of the brand loyalty that we've worked so hard behind for the last 7-8 years to build. The consumers know the brand awareness is super high. They know that it's synonymous with a brand I can trust. Letting people know that, it will instantly bring that trust into your restaurant.
Yeah, what great advice for restaurateurs out there right now, because the opportunities are huge in my mind of growing sales and really giving guest experiences that might be huge new opportunities for new guests to come into your restaurant and to have halal products. I have a couple other questions for you. Chef, you got to hold for a second there. I got a couple more questions. And they may sound kind of goofy, but I do have to ask them. Is it okay to any recommendations on serving halal products? And you have someone on the table that is not eating halal product on the menu. Can those products come to the table the same way? No concern there. Do I hold the dishes in the same hat? Like, I know these are kind of really basic questions, but these are what I'm thinking about when I just want to make sure the practices are done properly, so you're not cross-contaminating or doing things wrong. What about serving? Is there anything?
Yeah, no, totally fair. There's no harm as long as there's no cross-contamination. There's absolutely no problem with that. What I would tell you is the halal consumer is assimilated into the Canadian culture. They understand the challenges of having halal in their restaurant, and so whatever effort is made, it's appreciated. And you will, I think, small things like if you're holding a plate of halal food and non-halal food, and you're bringing it at the same time, it's not something that put anybody off. And I'm just thinking it's an interesting question, because I never thought about that one in the past. It's not a challenge that's kind of risen in my mind. And I've been at a table many times with others who are not eating halal, and in a restaurant that is not typically a halal restaurant, and I'll order fish or salad, or where there is a halal poultry option, I'll order that, and it'll come at the same time. Never had a challenge in my mind with that, and I don't see that as an issue for halal consumers, given that there's a ton of restaurants today that have both halal and non-halal on the menu, and they seem to do just fine.
Okay, cool. I know it's a kind of a crazy question, but just want to make sure.
No, it's a fair question.
Now I have one more question before we move over to Chef here.
Sure.
Disposable. What if someone's having a halal product, they don't eat it all? Throwing it in the garbage, when we clean the dishes and stuff like that from when the table is done, anything on practices there? Do we dispose it the same way we would the other food? Is there anything there, or is it just doesn't matter in that time period?
If you're disposing of any leftovers, you could throw away the same way you would throw away anything else. Compost it, I suppose.
Okay, just want to make sure. Just want to double check in that area that we have that covered as well. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
This is great. I'm learning tons today. So I'm going to go over to Chef Keppy. You ready? He's been just dying to show us probably more amazing food. There he is. Oh, I gotta unmute him. I ruin it every time I mute you. There you go.
Oh. You want to go to the other camera, Jay, please?
Yeah, I'm on the funky one.
Okay. So again, we showed a bunch of different products today. We're just going to pan over them right now, and then we could probably go back to Kate to finish off. But there's a lot of opportunities out there. The halal piece of it, from as far as I'm concerned, is just it's money left on the table if we don't start addressing this for everyone. When you're doing wings, there's different options. Get the right wing for the right operation. The same thing with the chicken strips. If you want to work a fully cooked product, then pick the right chicken strip for the operation you're working with. It's portionable and it's consistent.
That's awesome. I'm just impressed, Chef, with all the ideas here. And like you're absolutely right. We're literally leaving a lot of money, a lot of new consumers that we can bring in, and to a huge population that's in our Canadian landscape. It's amazing, and just love it. Love the ideas. I love the takeout, the 2 Caesars. Kate's gonna have a little Caesar later. Right? Yeah, I just wish I was in that kitchen with you enjoying these. Awesome stuff. Great stuff. So I'm going to go over to Kate. Thanks again, Chef. Let's talk to Kate. Let's bring it home,
Yep.
Kate.
I think
I got to unmute you.
Oh, got to unmute.
Oh, she's going to unmute herself.
Now let's qualify that. I'm going to have a Caesar salad at lunch. So just in closing, I know, Jay, one of the insights that you had shared with us is that, I mean, there's obviously cost on menus. It's huge, but there's also how do you bring new traffic in? How do you get the repeat consumers? What's innovation going to look like going forward, especially given that you've got reduced menu items and reduced ingredients in your menu? But that's why we thought today, chicken, and hopefully that was demonstrated to you through the varying recipes and menu items that James showed. You can go as, the nice part about chicken, it's a carrier, so you can go as a flavor, so you can go as safe or as crazy as you want, and to create that noise, and you can test and fail quick if you want, just to see what does bring new customers into your restaurants. And then of course, when you have those new LTOs, you get people wanting to come back and try more and more. And chicken's such a safe way to do that while not expanding your menu roster of items. And then of course with halal, Nabil, thank you so much for joining us today. I learned a lot as well. I was taking notes. I appreciate you being here to talk to us. What a great way to bring a new group of consumers that's not cannibalistic in any way to anything you have on your menu today. So with that, thank you on behalf of Maple Leaf, and I guess Jay, turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Well, there we go. We have all the cameras. We can say hi to everyone again. But yeah, thanks again, Kate, Chef, for educating us in an area that I'm blown away by what the stuff that we learned today. I just never thought of it. And great questions, Chef. Great ideas as again. Love it. Just simple, cost effective. And we're helping restaurants make money and to really, cater to a new population or a population that's sitting there that they didn't know that they could really capitalize on. So awesome ideas, everyone. So thanks again. Any last comments, Chef? I know you're just dying to say something here. Let me unmute.
Oh, there's always something to say. Again, we're in the hospitality industry, and we serve food, but we're in the hospitality industry. It's trying to give a little bit of something extra on the plate so that the customer realizes that you spent the time with it. And if you're thinking about it and you're doing this kind of thing, I think the business is going to come back.
Yeah, I agree fully. So thanks again, Chef. Everyone else, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll sign off from here. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great one. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.